Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Studio Series number 74 Bumblebee. So this is Bumblebee as he was seen in the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Bayverse film. So as we always do, let's go ahead and bring that packaging in and take a look at it. So right at the top, you have Takara. Down here, you have a nice CGI model of Bumblebee looking ready to go into battle. Studio Series, Bumblebee, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Over here on the side, you have that same CGI image. On the back, you have your product shots and a little bit of extra information. Big screen inspired, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, Bumblebee, Pyramid Desert Battle. And down here, Bumblebee takes on both Constructicon Rampage and Ravage to protect Sam Witwicky. So there are your product shots. It is an officially licensed product of GM for that Camaro. And there you have little Sam looking all in a hurry, running. I'm assuming this is the part right before he gets blown up and he sees all the primes. So that kind of looks to be what that scene is trying to show. And then you have backdrop included. Down here you have all your warnings. You do have the Bumblebee. Over here on the side, number 74. A little bit of a close-up of Bumblebee with his battle mask on. He is a Deluxe-class. Over here, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, and down here, manufacturing information. So that is it for the outside of the packaging. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what came inside that box. Alright, so here is everything that came inside that box, and we will start as we always do with your little sheet of warnings. And you get your instruction manual. And then he does come with two accessories, and we'll start with the accessory on the left over here. This is his arm cannon. So bring that in and try to get a good look at that. Now this is just molded in black. There are no paint apps on it, but it does have a decent amount of detail going on here. I hope that it's coming across with the contrast here. But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part this looks okay. It would have been nice to have some paint apps on there, but you know, as far as Bumblebee arm cannons go, it's pretty much par for the course for the Studio Series Deluxe class. So yeah, not bad, not bad. All right, and then our other accessory is our little Sam, and I'm sorry to have to be the one to report this, but Sam has no eyes, so I don't know how he knows where he's running. I guess it's just by sound. Maybe he's like Daredevil, I don't know. He could have something crazy going on there. And he does seem to be missing. I thought that he was carrying the Matrix or a sock or something. It would have been nice if they would have had that, but I guess, you know, here he's just doing his power run. I guess, you know, this is the hoodie too, so you could say that this is the Sam from the first movie where he was holding the Allspark. Totally up to you. But yeah, he's pretty generic for the most part. And there's zero articulation here. This is just a static statue. So do with that what you will. I'm not entirely sure what my plans are for this yet, but there you go. All right, so that just leaves what we have left right here, and that is that backdrop. So as I've said in previous reviews, really like that they include these, and this is the backdrop from that desert battle when they revive Prime, and Jolt combines Jetfire's parts with Prime, and he goes and stops the Fallen and Megatron and all that other happy stuff. So really like that they include these backdrops. Really would be nice if I had the room for them, but I don't. So if you do, I think this looks pretty good as far as a display piece goes. But for me, this is going to be put back in the box, and the box is going to go back in storage. So that wraps it up for everything that came inside that box. So let's go ahead and bring Mr. B in for his close-up and take a look at those details and articulation. And here's that little pollinating insect himself, Mr. Bumblebee, which is odd because typically most bumblebees are female, but we'll not get into that here. That's a discussion for a different time. Let's go ahead and bring him in for his close-up. And in this iteration, he is wearing his battle mask permanently. So as far as the head detail goes, let's get some focus there. There we go. So he does have that battle mask detail, and he does have an incredibly tiny Autobot symbol right there on his forehead. So kudos to getting that looking right. Good molded in detail all around that head, and even on this upper body right here, there is a lot going on. So, no pun intended here, but with those Michael Bay designs, it is a very insectoid type of look. So, you know, there's a lot going on these figures. Typically, they are pretty busy. And looking at that chest, I think they did a pretty decent job there. Again, keeping in mind this is a deluxe class figure. And you've got good detail up under there and then down into the crotch. And coming down here to those legs. For the most part, he doesn't have a lot of hollow areas. He's got a little bit going on down here on the inside of those feet. But I think they did a nice job here, you know, using the windows to, and I don't know, minimize the hollow area that you can see in those legs. He does have, I don't know, a little bit of detail, so it's like they put some effort in there. So I can appreciate that. And those shins look pretty good. Coming on out here, got those feet. And then coming up, you've got a little bit of Camaro rear end right there. Move that arm out of the way. Got some detail on that leg. And you look up underneath him, he's hollow, but he hides it pretty well. And he does have, even on that spine, if you will, he's got good detail in there too. So I like to see that they kind of went all out and tried to put as much detail everywhere as they could. And coming over here to these hands. And you've got nice paint right there on those forearms. Coming up here to the upper arms, pretty good amount. And even back here, you can see on the backs, they've got some good molded in detail back there as well. So like I say, he's busy. And, you know, whoever did the designing for this guy, you know, definitely wanted to put that detail in there to capture as much as they could. So I appreciate that. And moving around here to the back, it's not the worst Bumblebee I've ever seen. He does have a lot of car going on back here, but as far as backpacks go, it compacts up pretty good. So it's not like it dangles out there. You know, it's not RC level backpack or, you know, the old Sideswipe level backpack. So I think it looks pretty good back here. A little bit of attention to detail down there in the legs. And coming back there. So that is it as far as the details go. So let's go ahead and get into that articulation. So for articulation, we'll start as we always do with the head. And as far as the head goes, you don't get a lot here. You can get a little bit of up and a little bit of down. You don't really get anything side to side, and you can turn his head to the side about that far either direction before he starts running into himself. And others may not call this articulation, but I do. You can rotate these wings a few degrees and bring them in or out a little bit. So you can, of course, give him different expressions using his little wings back there if you want to. So you do have that ability for motion if you choose to do that. And as far as his shoulders go, his shoulders have a hinge right here, so you can actually bring those shoulders up. You can bring those shoulders down if you want to give him kind of a droopy shoulder look. That's up to you. And his shoulders will raise up that far before they reach a hard stop, and you can, in theory, take them 360 degrees around. Just bear in mind the wing back there that you're going to run into. And then down here at the elbow, he does have a ball joint at the elbow, so that incorporates both the elbow bend and the bicep rotation. So as far as an elbow bend goes, you get just over 90 degrees on that, and then you can go all the way around on that ball joint for that. You don't get anything at the hands or at the wrist, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and move these arms out of the way, make our way down the torso. So you do get waist rotation, but when you get that waist rotation, just bear in mind that you may run into the windshield right here. So as you give him a twist, you might run into that windshield either direction, but you can get enough to get him into some poses. So not the greatest, but mostly caused by just geometry interference. So something you can get by pretty easily. Now, as far as the hips go, you can get splits of about that far with Mr. B, and it's kind of disappointing. You're still able to do enough as far as dynamic poses, but he's not even close to a Van Damme here, so that's a bit of a letdown. And kicking forward, he will, just bearing in mind that some of this stuff may move on you, he can kick forward pretty far. I mean, he can get a nice forward kick, and kicking backward, again, keeping in mind you need to clear the windshield or the window here. If you get around that, you can get a nice back kick. So good range of motion there. And this is on a ball joint, so you can get a little bit of wiggle out of that hip right there. You do also get rotation right here just above the knee, so you can twist that leg all the way around if you choose to do so. And these shins, due to transformation, they're on ball joints, so these are not technically part of the articulation. I just keep running my finger into them, so sorry about that. Now down here at the feet, you get a little bit of a cheat here. So technically speaking, you don't get any up or down on these feet. You know, they simply don't go up or down. Oh, we got to talk about those knees, don't we? I almost forgot. So you get just over 90 on those knees as well at the knee bend. So not bad there. But coming back down here to the feet, you don't get any up or down, technically speaking, but what you can do if you absolutely needed to is you could pop that tab right there, and then you can bring these down if you want to get him in some pose. These will not support his weight, so just keep that in mind. But if you needed, I don't know, some crazy pose where he was going to be out like that or something, you could do that right there. But typically you're going to leave those tabbed in just like that. Now you do get ankle tilt, so it is pretty good amount of ankle tilt. So yeah, that's nice to see. It's always welcome. I do enjoy me some ankle tilt, and because of that severe ankle tilt, you can get him in a nice sumo squat position as well. So that's always fun. Get him nice and low, ready to do some battle. It's always nice to get low and get that leverage, right? So that is it for the articulation. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and we'll jump into those accessories and see how those accessories work with him here in the bot mode. And here he is with his accessories. And just a real quick note, I don't think technically that this actually works. I just happened to find a peg on his gun that this effect would actually work. Unfortunately, this port right here is too big and the effects just fall out. So I just wanted to throw that on there and try it, and you know, we get what we get. So but as far as the actual accessories themselves in action with him in bot mode, Sam can be running along beside him, so great. Thanks, Sam. There's just not a lot you can do with that guy. And then as far as the gun goes, the gun, real quick, I'll just show you. I just used this peg right there, and in that port, it's just too loose. It just drops. So, but I wanted to show that to you guys. Now, as far as the gun itself, it just plugs into his hand. There's no great magic to it. It looks pretty cool, especially from the side here. It looks like it does integrate fairly well. Probably would have looked better if it had some paint on it instead of just being a big chunk of black plastic. Bumblebee is right-handed. You can put this in his left hand, but it doesn't look right and it doesn't seat properly. So he's definitely right-handed when it comes to his cannon. Now beyond that, there's really not a lot that you can do with the accessories here. I mean, Sam's just running around, and he plugs that into his arm and it comes off pretty easily and goes back on pretty easily. So yeah, that's it, guys. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and get into the transformation and get him into his car mode. All right, Mr. Bumblebee, it is time to transform into your Camaro mode. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is turn around here to the back of the vehicle, take these little winglets right here and bring those up just like that on both sides. And then you're going to reach up under here and you're actually going to pry all this car, the top of the car, away from the body. So just right here, grab that, give that a pull, swing it out, and then you've got this other little back of the top of the car, and you're just going to swing that out just like that. So you've got all that clearing out of your way. Now you're going to return your attention to these legs down here. So lift these arms up so you've got some clearance. So take these legs right here, you're going to rotate them 180 degrees just above the knee, and then you're going to take that entire waist and rotate that 180 degrees. So now you've got him all kinds of messed up down here in the leg area. So then you're going to come down here to your feet. Now you're going to pull the feet out. You're going to pull them out on this gray peg, and I'll show you what I'm doing here. Pull that out so that way you're clear, and then you're going to bring this down. And then if you look real close, you can see that the shape matches. So the female and the male here, it matches, and then you're just going to pull that out so that gray peg is recessed inside that piece right there, just like that. And while you're here, they won't stay, but we're going to do it anyway. Lift these forward and open these windows. So you've got that leg prepared. So let's come over here. We'll do the same thing with the foot over here. So give that a little bit of a pull, swing it down, and then you're going to pull it forward, pry it until you have that gray piece recessed inside the black piece right there. All right, now we're going to flip him over. And what you're going to do here is you're actually going to fold all of this in on itself. So that's why I say make sure these are down, because what you're going to do now is you've got a point right here where you're going to bend, turn these 180 degrees. If you don't, you'll get interference like what I just did. Now you're going to bend it right there. And when you do, this is all going to slide, so you've got this part of the car lined up here now, and then you actually have another point of rotation that you're going to take this and rotate right there. And then you're just going to swing this all around. I'm trying to give you the best view possible here. So you're going to swing this forward, and you need to clear the wheel from that little wheel well piece right there. So just kind of lift that up out of your way. And then you can lift this wheel well piece up, or that fender piece, and then you've completed it for the most part right there. And then it's going to be sitting like that. So let's go ahead and do the other side. So lift this window up if it collapsed on you like mine did. And then you're going to swing this forward, and then you're going to rotate that. Make sure you have this piece down. Bring all of this forward, clear it right there, and then lift that up. And now what you can do is take both of these shin guards, swing those inward so they're sitting like that, and then you can squeeze all of this together. So if you get a little bit of interference up here, feels like they're not quite wanting to snap, it's probably just because you need to clear your feet up by that crotch. So just keep giving that all a little wiggle until you get that nice snap in place, and give these feet a squeeze, and then just give them a little push down. So that is the rear of the vehicle. You have that all completed, so now we can turn our attention to the upper body. So what you want to do here is you're going to be fighting with the back of this car. It's on a double hinge, so you're going to be fighting with the back of the car a little bit as you do this. So there's a little bit of finagling that needs to go on here. Take this chest piece, lift this chest piece up, and as you lift this chest piece up, you can see you have this double hinge assembly right here. So as you lift this chest piece up, you're actually going to be bringing those arms down like that. And lift this little piece up right here, so that way you give yourself all the clearance that you need, and give those a little bit of a squeeze right there so they're out of your way. And then you're going to give these a twist and have your arms oriented like that. So you want this silver piece pointing outward, and you want his forearm pointing upward, because this is going to be the position you want these arms in when you collapse them in car mode. So swing that forward and have those sitting like that. Okay? And you're going to want to make sure you keep those squeezed together. Now you can take these wings, rotate those wings 90 degrees just as you would, so once he's in car mode, you'll see how that'll collapse like that, okay? So do the same thing over here. Rotate those. You're going to swing that chest piece up and take this upper body, bring this upper body forward, and take your headlights here, grab them, give them a split, and just kind of have them out of your way. So what you're going to do now is, as you bring this chest piece forward, this piece right here rotates on its own axis. So you're going to bring that forward, and it's actually going to collapse, and it's going to sit right up underneath that piece just like that. Bring your headlights forward. And that way you have everything approximating where it needs to be. So you should have the front of your car looking about like that. Alright, and then you have everything essentially lined up like that. Alright, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take these wings, you're going to give that a little bit of a turn, and you're going to bring this entire assembly forward. Alright, and then you can start splitting the doors off from the fronts. And then this is where you're going to want to use both of your thumb and your forefinger, because you need to capture all these tabs on either side right here. And it can be a little bit tricky. You do have this really tiny tab right in there that's going to fall right into that slot on both sides. So make sure your headlights are oriented as they should be, so you can capture that and then do the same thing on the other side. And from this point, I like to just keep my hands on either side right here to make sure everything stays. Now what you've done is you've essentially created the void for your arms. So then this is where you're going to give those arms a push, and you're going to slide those arms right into place. And make sure you keep all that squeezed together. So you should have something that looks like that, and then just take this little piece right here and then just close that flap. Now come back up here to the top, and you're going to swing these arms. Again, I'm still holding these. You're going to swing these arms to about where they need to be, and then now you're in panel alignment mode. So I'm going to let go here and hope for the best, and then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to start squeezing everything in place. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. We need some good squeezing music. There we go. Alright, so now we have everything squeezed together and lined up about as good as it's going to get on this car. But once you have him in this mode, he actually looks pretty good and he rolls nicely and freely. So there you have Mr. Bumblebee in his car mode. And I think for the most part, he came out looking really good in this mode, especially when you consider the fact that he's a Deluxe-class Studio Series $20 US dollar figure. So let's go ahead and we'll bring him in and we'll take a look at those details. So bring him on in, take a nice look at the front of that car. So you do see that Chevy symbol right there. It's kind of blacked out, but it is there. And certainly captures the essence of the Chevrolet Camaro. Nice looking wheels on there. Good detail on the side. So there's the little spot where it would say Camaro, and here it just says nothing, but that's okay. Coming around to the back, you have the tail lights decked out in red. Would have been nice if they could have put some paint apps on those exhaust tips and that Chevy symbol right there. I think that would have really set it off, made it look great. And then coming over here to this side, pretty much the same thing as the other side. And here you have him from the top and from the bottom. So just like Bumblebee should, he does have his visible head syndrome. So he's right there peeking out at you, saying hello. But yeah, there you go. Now you do have weapon storage, if you want to call it that, storage. So you take that big old hand cannon, and you've got these ports back here, and you can just line it up. Once I find my ports, there we go. Give that a squeeze and put that on. So it's not elegant. It doesn't look good, but if you don't want to lose your hand cannon and you've got him in this mode, you have an option. So there you go. And then if we want to bring Sam in, there he is. Sam's just running away from Bumblebee and not quite sure if the scale's up. I mean, maybe. I know Sam wasn't that big of a guy, and I think he's just a little too big in the scale. But hey, you know, at least you've got a faceless, eyeless Sam to put next to Bumblebee. All right, so what we'll do now is we will go ahead and we'll get into those vehicle mode or alt mode comparisons and see how he stacks up against some of the other alt modes out there. All right, so I figured what we would do for the alt mode comparisons here is we would just run through a brief history of Bumblebee, if you will. So we'll see him in a few different modes. So we'll start right here. This is the Bumblebee Studio Series 74 on the left, next to the Origins Bumblebee from the Buzzworthy Bumblebee series. Our next comparison is the Studio Series Bumblebee B127, as we saw him at the beginning of the Bumblebee movie on Cybertron. Next up is the Studio Series Off-Road Bumblebee, so this is the form that he took when he made it to Earth just before he duked it out with John Cena and Blitzwing. Our next comparison is the Studio Series Bumblebee Volkswagen Beetle mode. So this is the mode that he had during a majority of the movie, and this is the Bumblebee that I know and love is a Volkswagen Beetle. Our next comparison is the Studio Series Clunker Bumblebee. So this was the old Camaro that we saw Bumblebee as. Our next comparison is the Deluxe-class Premier Edition Bumblebee figure that came out when Transformers The Last Knight premiered. So this is not a Studio Series, this is just the Deluxe-class Premier Edition line that came out in correlation with the Last Knight movie. Our next comparison is the G1 Throttlebot Bumblebee. Next comparison is the OG himself. This is my original G1 Bumblebee that I've had since 1984, somewhere around there. And our final alt mode comparison, just for something a little bit different other than Bumblebees. Goodness gracious. This is Mudflap. This was the figure that came out at the time of the release of Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. So again, not a Studio Series, just the original figure that came out in correlation with the premiere of Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. All right, that wraps up the alt mode comparison. So let's get this guy transformed back into his robot mode. So to get Bumblebee transformed back into his robot mode, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take these doors and open them up. And when you do, this little window right here, it's going to try to catch on this fender wheel well. So you just got to give it a little bit of an extra pull, and that'll all pull away. So get your thumbnail under there, give that a pull, and bring that on out. And you can bring it out just like that. And do the same thing over here with this door. Bring that on out. And when you do that, you're starting to form the wings, those rear wings. So take this piece right here, flip that down. That's going to give you the clearance that you need to pull these arms out, because that's going to be your next step. So go ahead and grab those arms and pull those out just like that. And once you do that, now you're going to grab these wheels right up here and you're going to pull those out, and that's going to complete the wings. So just give those a little bit of a pull and bring those out and squeeze those together. So you should have something that looks like that. And do the same thing over here. Pull those out and squeeze them together. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our attention down here to the lower body, and we're going to get these legs taken care of. So take these right here and give that a little bit of a split. And once you've done that, a couple things in preparation here to expand this leg out. You're going to want to take these wheel wells or these fenders down on either side, and then you're going to want to move these shin guards. So just bring those shin guards up and turn them around 180 degrees. So lift them up, turn them around 180. And what that does now is that frees everything up here so you can actually open this leg up as you should. So biggest challenge here is just going to be getting this wheel over this fender right here, and you can just give that a little bit of a twist and then give this a pull. And that's going to pull this entire assembly out right there. Once you have that, that's going to stop at the 90-degree point, but you're going to keep right on going because that's going to drop this part down. So you've got 2 points of rotation here. You have this one, and then you have a point right up here. Now, once you're right here, this isn't all the way opened up yet, so hold on to that, and then you're going to open this up until you feel a soft click. So like that, okay? Once you're here, now you can go ahead and close that window up right there, and then we'll just do the same thing on the other side over here and expand that out. So make sure your shin guard is out, make sure that your little fender is down, and then you're going to get that tire over it, and then you're going to bring all this out and bring it out down like that, and give that soft click, and bring your window down. All right, so you can see that the legs are starting to form here. So next thing you're going to want to do is take this foot right here, give that a push so you're past that little male piece right there, and then you can swing this foot up and you have this little slot right there. It's going to correspond to a little tab right there. Bring that up, give that a push, and then you've got your foot locked into the right position. And do the same thing over here. So give this a push, swing it up, and then give that a squeeze, and you've got that foot locked as it should. Now take just below the knees here, take these and rotate those legs 180 degrees. Do that on both sides. And then move the back of the car out of the way, and you can take this waist and rotate all this 180 degrees right there at the waist. And then when you fold these pieces in, you have completed the lower body. So this is the bottom of Bumblebee. So now what we can do is turn our attention back up here to the upper body. So what you want to do here is you need to separate this piece right here from the hood, or the upper body of the car, if you will. So no really good way to do that. You're just going to put your thumb right there, and you're going to give that a little bit of a pull, and that's going to loosen all that up. So you're ready to bring this piece down over the head. So in a little bit of preparation, you're going to want to move your wings. Try to give yourself a little bit of clearance, because you're going to do a little bit of origami here. So bring those arms out and start bringing those arms up. Bring this down a little bit. Bring this out a little, those wings up a little bit. So I'm trying to show you kind of what I'm doing here. And swing this up. So you've got this double hinge right here. You're going to swing that up and turn those arms around and do the same thing over here. So swing that up on the double hinge, and then you can start bringing this chest piece down. Give those a squeeze, make sure that that's all cleared. Bring your headlights down, and then you're going to drop that chest piece right like this. Swing those down, make sure they clear, and then you can see right there where the chest piece goes up flush next to Bumblebee's neck right there. So that's what you're going for. Turn your arms around, and then take your headlights, tilt them down if they're not already tilted, and give them a tilt like this, and then squeeze them in. And then before we do that, I just realized I just missed that spot, so flip this up. Sorry about that, guys. And then bring this down. And that helps fill out his abdomen right there. Again, sorry I missed that. Alright, so now you have the front of the body and you have the arms done, and now we can turn our attention to the back. So this is on a double hinge back here. It does share the double hinge with the wings, so you may get a little bit of the wings wanting to follow the car body here, so you may have to just maneuver that a little bit. But what we're going to do here is you're going to take this flap right here, you're going to fold it in, then you're going to fold this top of the car piece in, you're going to bring it down, and then there's a little hook right under here, and you're actually going to hook that underneath. So bring the body down on that double hinge, line it up as best you can with that hook, and then tuck it in, and it will hold. Once you get under that hook, it'll hold pretty good. So you'll know you're in there if you can't freely move this. So if you can still move this around, you're not underneath that hook right there. Hopefully that's a helpful tip. All right, so the last thing that we need to do is take these little winglets and bring those down. So give those a push, bring them down right there. Bring those down right there. And there you have finished your transformation for Studio Series 74 Bumblebee back into his robot mode. So what we'll do now is we will go ahead and we will bring in those bot mode comparisons, and we'll take a look at Bumblebee and see how he stacks up against some of the other figures out there. So for our first bot mode comparison, here we see the Studio Series 74 Bumblebee next to the Human Alliance Bumblebee that came out in conjunction with, I believe, the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen movie. I think that's right. It's either Revenge of the Fallen or Dark of the Moon. Our next bot mode comparison is the movie masterpiece Bumblebee as we saw him from the 2018 Bumblebee movie. Next up is MP21 Masterpiece Bumblebee. Next up is Bumblebee as we saw him in the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, or more specifically the Netflix Earthrise version of Bumblebee. Our next bot mode comparison is Bumblebee as we saw him in the Transformers Prime universe. Our next comparison is a bot that I affectionately like to call Mongo. This is the Bumblebee from the Transformers Red or RED line. This is a non-converting figure. And for a non-Bumblebee comparison, here we see the Studio Series 74 Bumblebee next to Skids. This is the figure that came out when the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen movie premiered. So this is not a Studio Series. This is just one of those original figures from that movie release. Our next comparison is the OG. This is my original G1 Bumblebee that I've had since I was a kid. And here we see Studio Series number 74 Bumblebee with all the other Studio Series Bumblebees that I have in my collection so far. Oh boy. For our final bot mode comparison, I think I have a bee infestation problem. I think this is what you would call a beehive. So yeah, for our last comparison here, this is the Studio Series 74 Bumblebee with literally every other Bumblebee that we have between Sid and myself. So some of these were Sid's toys when he was a kid that we've hung on to. Some of them are mine. But yeah, this is a lot of Bumblebee in one place. So there you go. So let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and talk about the final thoughts on the Studio Series 74 Revenge of the Fallen Bumblebee. You know, if I wasn't already so inundated with Bumblebees, I would say right off the bat that I think this is a good figure for the price and that I recommend that you pick him up. My biggest problem is my cup runneth over with Bumblebees, so I just don't know where this guy's going to fit in my collection. But let's go ahead and get into the meat of that, and let's talk about the bullets on this guy so we can quantify him a little bit, and we'll start with the aesthetics. So I think for the most part, for a $20 US Studio Series Deluxe-class figure, I think the aesthetics on this guy look pretty good. The paint apps look good, and I think the attention to detail is there. There's something to look at from every angle on this guy, and he really doesn't suffer that much from hollow areas or a huge backpack or anything like that. So I think that for the most part, the aesthetics are on point on this guy for the price range. So for the aesthetics, I'm going to give this guy an 8 out of 10. I guess a couple things on that wish list would have been, you know, if they could have thrown some paint on that hand cannon, and maybe if Sam had eyes, because that's just a little creepy. But for the most part, aesthetics are pretty good. Now, moving on to articulation. Again, I think this guy, for the price point and for being a deluxe class, I think the articulation is pretty good on this figure. He's limited a little bit in his splits, so he's not going to get a full Van Damme on you, but I don't think that's going to really detract from being able to get him in some nice dynamic poses. And a wish list item on this would have been maybe having some butterfly joints in those shoulders. If they could have integrated them, that would have been nice. But for the most part, I think articulation on this guy, you're going to be very satisfied. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 on articulation. Now, moving down to accessories, I did ding him a little bit here because, you know, I'm a little let down by the accessories. Every single Bumblebee that we get in the Studio Series line, the accessory is the hand cannon. I get it. That's what he used. But there's just a little bit of monotony there. And the fact that it's just black molded plastic, I don't know. I'm a little let down. And then as far as the other accessory, Sam, great. What am I going to do with him? I'm going to put him beside Bumblebee, and he's going to look like he's running away. I just can't do a lot with that accessory. So, I don't know. I'm a little underwhelmed here. So, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 on accessories. Coming down to quality, I have to say that for the Studio Series Deluxe Class line, I have not had the best luck in the past with Bumblebees. I've had Bumblebees that have had loose joints and things fall off easy, you know, the arms and that kind of stuff, if you've seen any of my other reviews. So I have to say that I'm actually really pleased with this guy. All the joints are tight. He holds his positions well. He doesn't have any quality issues. His face doesn't fall off like some of the other Bumblebees. And overall, out of the box, he came with everything he was supposed to. He works the way he's supposed to work, and I don't have any obvious flaws. So I'm giving this guy a 9 out of 10 on quality. This is probably one of the better Studio Series Bumblebees that I've gotten my hands on. So going down to our final bullet here, overall value. Here's where I just have to ask the question, did we really need another Bumblebee? I mean, my gosh, there are so many out there, and I get it. He's had slightly different forms in each of the Bayverse films, and then you have, you know, the whole buzzworthy Bumblebee line, and Hasbro knows from a Transformer standpoint where their bread is buttered. They know that Bumblebee and Optimus Prime make the money for them, so they're going to keep pumping them out, and people like me, we're going to keep right on buying them. So I get it, but from a true value standpoint, I don't know. This one's going to be a tough call for you guys. You know, the transformation on this figure almost makes it worth it for me. I think there's genuinely good engineering going on here, and he looks good in his robot and in his car mode. So, you know, if you don't already have one of the modern versions of Bumblebee or the modern Camaro version of Bumblebee from the Bayverse films, then I think this guy's probably worth picking up. If I take away the whole do we have enough Bumblebees in the world kind of thing, I think that this is a pretty good figure, and I think for the price point, this is one that is worthy of picking up if you don't already have 30 Bumblebees in your collection. That being said, I'm going to give this guy an 8 out of 10 on overall value. That may be slightly different in your eyes. Value is definitely the most subjective one out of all these bullets that we cover. So with that value of 8 out of 10, that gives this Studio Series 74 Bumblebee, out of a possible 50 points, he gets 40 points, which puts him right at 80%. So I don't have any issues recommending this guy if you're not sick of Bumblebee. If you like the Studio Series line and you're not tired of Bumblebee yet, pick him up. He's a good figure. Transformation is fun. The figure works, looks good in both modes. Yeah, I think he would be a worthy addition to your collection. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the review. As I always say, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe and leave some comments. I'd be interested to see how many Bumblebees other people have in their collection as well, because I feel like I may have a problem. So with that, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. And until we talk to you in the next one, take care.